Welcome to BHM University. My name is Nate, and today we're going to be discussing home oxygen concentrators. So what is an oxygen concentrator? Well, an oxygen concentrator is a machine that takes the air that you and I breathe regularly and concentrates it down to pure oxygen, or nearly pure oxygen. The oxygen, or the air that we breathe on a typical day-to-day basis here in the Midwest, is around 21% oxygen. The rest is typically around, typically nitrogen, argon, and other gases. These machines, what they do is they'll actually pull oxygen in through the back. They do have big vents, and they'll circulate oxygen in and through what's called sieve beds, and it'll concentrate it down and push out typically anywhere from 87 to 93% oxygen. If you're getting oxygen through an oxygen tank, it's typically going to be 100% oxygen, and that's just because it is filled with a machine called a transfiller. And we'll get into oxygen tanks in another video at another time, but this is a typical oxygen setup. We do typically will deliver a concentrator, some hoses, and what's called a backup E-system. So like I said, in a later video we will go ahead and discuss tanks, but for today we're mainly going to stick with the concentrators. So today I have here a Respironics Everflow and a Drive DeVilbiss. This is a 5-liter machine, and this is a 10-liter machine. Now the Respironics Everflow just comes in a 5-liter oxygen machine. They do have or Respironics does have a 10-liter machine. Typically we like to use Drive's 10-liter oxygen machines. Drive also has a 5-liter option as well. So as far as using a concentrator, we do have the flow meter, we do have a big power switch, we have our different lights, and we do have a nipple to set up hoses. So let's go ahead and get this 5-liter plugged in so I can show you just what it sounds like when it is turned on. So let's get this guy going. Most concentrators, when you first turn it on, will give you that beep, and all of the lights up here will light up. Green lights are always good. If you do ever see a orange light or a red light, it is typically reason to contact your oxygen provider. That way we can get out to you and get you some help. Now, like I said before, we do have our flow meter here in the middle. This flow meter does have a little ball that jumps up and down in there, and this is what sets the liter flow of oxygen. Now your liter flow is prescribed to you by a doctor, so we always want to go based off of whatever your physician prescribes to you, and we'll always set up based on that. Now, according to our training, whenever we're setting up one of these machines, we like to set up to where the ball is split by the line right in the center. So if I were setting up for 2 liters of oxygen in a minute, it should look something like that. So right now this machine is pumping out 2 liters of oxygen a minute, which is a pretty standard liter flow amongst most people. Now we do have a higher liter flow. This machine here will go up to 10 liters of oxygen a minute. And a lot like the Everflow here, we do have some similar things. So we do have a flow meter, we have our power button, and we also have a nipple to hook up hoses. Now, where these machines are a little bit different, this nipple here can be removed, and we can actually hook up what's called a humidifier jar. So we'll go ahead and remove this what we would call a Christmas tree. That's what we like to call those. And we'll go ahead and set up this humidifier jar. Now these humidifier jars should only be used with distilled water only. If you do use any other kind of water, you will get some contaminant buildups in the bottom of that. Excuse me. You will get a contaminant buildup over time, and it can clog hoses, and it can cause back pressure on the machines, which in turn also causes problems for these machines. So the way that these humidifier jars set up, we have a lid, we have the jar. There's a minimum line and a maximum line on these jars. I always suggest to folks that we stay just under that maximum line. If you do fill up over that maximum line, it can cause what's called spillover, and that's where that water is going to bubble up and into our oxygen line. So from there, we'll go ahead and take this threaded piece and we'll actually thread it on to the machine, directly to the machine. Now I do recommend that whenever we're doing this, we be very, very careful, because these humidifier jars are very easy to cross thread. They're easy to cross thread right here, and they're also easy to cross thread from jar to lid as well. So you do always want to make sure that you're getting a good connection there. We do have a lot of situations where these humidifier jars cause problems for people just because they can't get that on correctly, and a lot of people will experience issues where they're not feeling like they're getting enough oxygen. So from there, we can actually attach hoses to the end of this little nipple here, and what that does is the machine will actually push oxygen down into the water, and from there the jar will actually create pressure, and it'll allow oxygen to come right through that lid. So let's go ahead and take this humidifier jar off of this machine and attach it to the EverFlo over here. Now the EverFlo is a little bit different. On the EverFlo, you'll see on the back there is a little ledge with a little strap here, and that's perfect for the humidifier jar. So we'll go ahead and tighten that in here. Now you may be thinking, why are we putting it way back here, and how is that going to attach to the machine? Well, we'll attach this humidifier jar to the machine with an extra hose. This is a threaded hose. This hose has one female connection on it, and that female connection is going to go onto the concentrator itself, and then the threaded end is actually going to thread into the top of the humidifier jar. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And like I said before, these things are very, very easy to cross thread. So we do want to be very careful to make sure that we're not cross threading that. Now once we have that threaded on, we can take this female end and plug directly into the machine there. And from there, we can actually run all of our hoses off of the lid there. The next thing that I want to discuss is going to be extension tubing. We do have different lengths of extension tubing. This is a 25-foot hose, so it can stretch you pretty far. We do have a 10-foot hose and a 50-foot hose. Generally, we do recommend to stay under that 50 feet of extension tubing, due to once you go over 50 foot, you do start to lose pressure at the end of the line. And we don't necessarily want to do that. One thing I do recommend whenever first setting up these hoses is I recommend pulling these hoses out and giving it a good stretch. When you first pull these hoses out, you're going to notice that they're very, very rigid, and they want to try to bunch back up on you, twist and turn. When you pull it and give it a good stretch, they become a lot more limp and allows you to use this hose a lot easier with less kinks. So I do always recommend that everyone gives their extension tube or their brand new extension tube a good stretch right out of the package. That way you kind of experience less issues with that. So from there, you can actually take this extension tube and plug it into the humidifier jar right there on the end, just like that. And we'll take the other end of this extension tube. You'll see that both ends here are female ends. So we got a female end there, and we got a female end up here. And from there, we're going to want to go ahead and take a connector piece. Now this connector piece is what's called a swivel. It does actually do just that, swivels. And you can actually take and plug this swivel in right there. And now you're ready to plug in either another extension tube or your cannula directly. One other thing here is going to be a water trap. Now I do suggest, if you're going to use the humidifier jar, to go ahead and consider the water trap. Now this water trap takes place of the swivel. If you're going to use the water trap, you'll basically just take this swivel out. We'll just pull that out, and you'll replace it with the water trap. Now what this does is sometimes whenever you are using a humidifier jar, you can experience a little extra water coming through that hose. And what this does is it's going to actually catch that little extra condensation and keep it from going all the way up into your nose. So now that we have that hooked up, let's go ahead and get our nose cannula on. So a lot of times whenever I'm setting up in somebody's home, I will just pull out just an end here and leave the rest of it in the bag for the patient due to sanitary purposes. For today, I can actually pull that out for you so you can see everything. But just like that, that's going to be your total setup. So like I said, I'll go ahead and get this out of the bag for you. We'll get some of this trash out of the way. All right, and this is going to be your nose cannula. Now your nose cannula is going to run into your nose. You'll see that it kind of curves like that, and most of the time you want it to curve into your nose. So you'll curve into the nose, and you'll actually take and draw up and around your ears and let it hang in the front. So like I said, the first thing that you usually want to do is put that right into your nostrils, and then with both hands draw up around your face, around your ears, and hang in the front. And that's how you go ahead and put your nose cannula on. Now there are some comforts we have for you. Sometimes folks who wear oxygen all the time, they'll experience some ear issues, or where that nose cannula rides on the ear a little bit. It can cause them to get a little painful there. So sometimes we can give out these little ear cushions. These ear cushions, they'll just wrap around the hose down here and ride right up there on your ear, and it makes it just a little bit more comfortable to use. So just like I had over here, I also brought in an extra one. Typically whenever we are setting up new oxygen and we're setting you up with a machine that does take one of these little connectors, I'll always like to try to deliver you an extra connector. That way if you were to lose this connector, you'll always have an extra one as well. But like I said before, these guys, they just thread onto the machine, and you do want to be extremely careful whenever you are threading onto the machine that you're not getting it cross-threaded. And I'm telling you, it's very, very easy to do. You just got to have a lot of patience when threading that on, and you'll be able to get that right on. Now, this machine here, I know we did go ahead and turn the EverFlow on, and you saw all the lights. This machine, the lights are on there. It does have all the same kind of light setup. We have a red light, orange light, and a green light. Now sometimes with these machines, when you first turn them on, you do have to allow for a few minutes to let these machines run and build purity to allow for the machine to actually switch over to a green light. Now this machine here switched straight over to a green light. It had purity just like that. But normally with these 10-liter machines, they do take a little bit longer. And I always like to try to tell folks, allow at least up to 5 to 10 minutes for that amber light or that orange light to switch over to a green light. But from there, like I showed before on the back, these machines, they do have vents on the back. This is where they do pull in all of their air and how they circulate. We do always want to make sure that we're keeping these machines at least 3 to 6 inches away from any walls. If you do put this machine straight up to any wall, it won't be able to properly circulate. So you do always want to make sure that you have some room behind it so that this machine can still pull air in through the back. On some older machines, they will have a foam filter in the back here, and that's going to be some of your preventative maintenance that you guys need to do on your end whenever you have one of these concentrators delivered out to you. I always suggest to folks, pull those filters out probably every 1 to 2 weeks and just run it under hot water. No soaps, no vinegars, just run your hands through it, get all the dust and dirt and grime off of it, and then make sure that it's pretty dry before putting it back into the machine. And that's going to help your internal filters run a lot longer, and it's going to help this machine stay running for you a lot longer. Now, like I said, that's going to be on some of the older machines. These are quite a bit newer machines. The newer machines are doing away with those filters so that folks don't have to worry about cleaning those. But like I said, we do still have some older machines in our fleet, and we do suggest that we do take proper care in cleaning those. Now, back to the front on this machine. On this EverFlo, it doesn't have a breaker switch on it, but some of the machines do. This machine here does have a little switch here, and that's just in case the electricity was to surge or anything like that, and it's popped the breaker. It's just to kind of help protect these machines. If you do have a power surge and your concentrator isn't working afterwards, I do recommend take a look at that switch to see if that has been tripped. If it has, go ahead and switch it, and then shut your machine off and turn it back on and see if that resolves anything. I do always recommend, though, if you do have any kind of power surges or power outages, to always contact your provider and just let them know, give them a heads up that you did have a power surge or a power outage in your area. That way they know that their machine may have something going on with it and that they can get out to you and get you fixed up. For the most part, that's pretty much been it. That covers just about everything on these machines. So I do want to thank you very, very much for tuning in on today's episode about the Oxygen Home concentrators. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.